Welcome to the FeelWell Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren DeCicco. In this episode, I'm joined by Dr. Samantha Morris, executive behavioral health consultant and provider. She is a powerhouse in integrated behavioral health and a dynamic healthcare executive transforming how we approach care. As a doctor of behavioral health, executive coach, therapist, innovator, and community leader, Dr. Morris brings a wealth of insight into trauma-informed care, leadership resilience, and bridging the gap between mental and physical health, and so much more. She even made her own app focused on relationships called YourTurn. Today, we are going to take a deep dive on a far too common but rarely acknowledged topic about high-performing professionals struggling with healthy coping in high-stress roles. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Lauren.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. I just kind of want you to first start off and tell us, how did you get to where you're at today as you yourself were on an executive team in healthcare, but you're also now taking your professional skills and working with high-level executives who are struggling with high stress and burnout. So how did you get there?
It's a loaded question. All right. Starting off with a banger. I have to tell you, I'm truly blessed to have had the opportunities afforded to me in life. And we aren't given things that we can't handle. And it's truly the experience and the obstacles and building the grit that has gotten me here today. So getting into integrated healthcare and really in the field in the first place of building that grit from personal medical illness to figuring out exactly how to serve others in the best way. And 3 degrees, 11 years of education really got me that initial foundation and that strong foundation. And then having the opportunities to work in healthcare in different capacities in public and private sectors and working with high performing individuals who by leadership and modeling what that success looked like and really teaching me humbleness and being able to, across all of those different obstacles and opportunities, looking at everything as a moment for growth. And how could I take it and then pass it on to others? So that humbleness really instilled on me, I am one person. I can only do so much as one person. So the desire to then work with other individuals who have the grit and the capacity to work at that high level. How can I support them so we can continue to pay it forward and help more people really continue that journey? So that's pretty much that foundation in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. And you worked in a very interesting combination of where your skill set, because you are on the mental health side, but you are working in community health. So, and people dealing with illness on that side of it too, and trying to blend together how that all worked together. So you really worked between kind of a business model and providing to some of the neediest people in the community and giving them services that they could count on and rely on. So, but I think that puts things in perspective of what it means to be a high level performer, but coming from a place that's providing better things to the world rather than a high level performer who's just there to, just make money.
Very much so. And that it's interesting you say that because I like to really, that is the platform that I stand on, that financial sustainability and growth is essential. When you're looking at whether it's a community healthcare model or a private entity, looking for sustainability, the growth, and what that looks like to be able to provide those services in the first place. When you lead with the clinical expertise and the integrity behind the care, the rest will follow.
Exactly.
And being able to have that sustainable model. So seeing what it looks like to truly serve others and how to then support the entire C-suite and what that looks like to keep everybody's well-being in check, to keep the process going. It is truly an amazing opportunity to have been afforded, and recently having given the opportunity for consulting and to meet with others and to see that individuals across both community and private have that same vision of wanting to serve others, mental health, substance use, integrated care. It's a beautiful thing to see that it really is across the entire gamut.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, you can see it in any sort of high level performer or executive type of role. Ultimately, we want to have people coming from a place of what's for the greatest good and staying tied into that. And it's so easy to kind of lose that, especially when you're kind of overwhelmed and trying to do it all in a high stress level. So what are some of the main things that people are coming in and talking and saying to you when these high level performers, what are they saying, these professionals?
So it's so many different facets of life, right? You see individuals who are performing at this peak going, wow, they're financially successful. They're able to do this. And social media, of course, does a lot by putting photos and such on. So for me, who's outside of all of that, I have somebody that just comes in front of me and I see them as a human being. So I ask, what are your strengths? What were you able to do to get you to this level of success today? And a lot of the time that innate grit is built in them, the drive for success, the skill set, the capacity. But what has changed over time is life cycle stage. So when you first started out in your journey in your career and what you wanted and what was put into it, what you were willing to sacrifice, sleep, time, food, family, priorities were different. And as individuals climb the ladder to get to the executive C-suite, that level of success most, it's now, okay, a lot of them have launched their families, they're with their spouses, they have maybe not found new interests. It's really, they're not just feeling as fulfilled. And what does that look like? So at times it could be aligning their level of success and professional development with their life cycle stage and adding more to life. What is it that you would love to do now that this is now safe, concrete? What else can we add to build up, to decrease your level of depression, anxiety, or just sometimes feelings of blah, not knowing what it is, but not feeling enough? They say, I have money, I have travel, I have all of this. It's not enough.
The thing that they work so hard for. And I think that happens to a lot of different people. They pour everything into it to reach a certain goal. It doesn't matter if you're a high performer or if you're just achieving goals in life. And then we get there and we're like, what now? Because things have shifted and now your life is different. So having you there to walk them through that and find different avenues of finding that fulfillment.
And things they lost as well. So while building it up, that was time away from children, time away from spouse. While everybody, it seems, and a lot of the families I work with are very supportive and are all very grateful. There was then a loss if you're giving and focusing. So we discuss mindfulness now and what that looks like for individuals when someone is at work and how they're at work and what it looks like and being present. A lot of the jobs are 24/7 and phones come everywhere. Technology has made it very easily accessible. So what do boundaries look like? Whether you're a new executive or an existing executive who had those old patterns of behavior that helped you get there today, or you might be younger and starting off and saying, this is not going to work and jive for what I want and my values. So really learning mindfulness and setting a lot of those boundaries in life with families and with work that really helps set that tone to be where your feet are. And being present in those moments, focused. So that way it helps a lot with a lot of those stressors that come into play, where if you only have 100% focus and capacity, the idea of setting multiple things in motion, it's not multitasking if you only have 100% attention. So what is truly getting that and how much are you putting in? How well is that?
Do you find that people have a hard time kind of surrendering to the process, letting go? Allowing things to happen instead of do all the time. When
you have control over things, that's your control, your expertise, you're not sitting and waiting for something to happen. And when you hear about the formula for success, nobody just sat there and waited for anything to happen for them, for anyone to get to this point. So I will then have it put it back at me. Okay, well, me not sitting still and not just letting things happen is how I got here. So we ask present day. That was your success to this point. How well are you doing things now?
Right. So does that still apply to you in this moment? It doesn't seem like it's serving you anymore to keep things going at that pace. So what are some of your techniques to help people be in the present and let go when all they've ever learned is to do?
That is a fantastic question. And I very much like to lead by example. So I believe a lot of people come to me.
I know you and I have talked about this a lot.
Very much so. Very much so.
You and I are both very similar. We are both doers. So,
and the integrity behind what we say. So if we're going to say we're doing something, we do it. And it's really not just science, it's anecdotal, and being in those opportunities to say to people, well, sometimes we need to slow down and we need to learn our bodies and we need to see what it is.
To do more, to have better quality of what we're doing.
It's exactly.
Not so much the quantity. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality.
It's about the quality and how they balance into each other. So when you think about that bell curve and that peak flow, executives are working at the top of that peak flow. And too much pushes you over to where it decreases not only your capacity or productivity, but the quality of the work. So what is that fine balance? So through practice and through knowing and being at that level, it's implementing things into your life that bring you more or less. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's more energy and ways to expel. I picked up ice hockey in the later life. So when leading by example, it's what is something you can add to your life that you might not have had before? What is something that might give you that passion, that level of exhilaration that takes it out of any other room and environment that you're in? Mm-hmm. Sometimes individuals say, you know what? I feel that all the time. Well, we need to then add in things to decrease their level of arousal. And it could be something like yoga, going for a walk. Individuals have started crocheting. Mm-hmm. Executive males have picked up crocheting, things that go outside of a norm for individuals that say, I'm passing gender, age, everything. What do you want? Let's take control. Let's set your goals. So it's really all of that force, that drive, that grit is now looking inward and at yourself to go, how do I survive? How do I keep this going? So when they say put on your oxygen mask first, what does it look like? A lot of the executives I've worked with have held their breath for so long to push through to get things done, or what their formula was for success is different now. Yeah. So this is that grace that comes into it of how do I add in new things now? And what does that look like? And the humbleness to say it's okay to do it and ask for help. Yeah. That is a lot too.
I think your reference of the bell curve is great because honestly, it ties in a lot with what I talk about with the nervous system capacity because we talk about a window of tolerance and a lot of really on the go, high achieving, high performing individuals, regardless of if you're just a parent or if you're, an executive, they're sitting teetering all the time. And there's never any balance or recovery. And then all of a sudden we go over the end and we crash. And that's where you get into burnout. And burnout can look like a lot of different things, right? It can be illness. It could be I'm just not motivated, or I'm super stuck in this project and I'm procrastinating, or I'm feeling really lazy. It can look like a lot of different things, self-sabotage even.
Absolutely.
So I love that you say, and it's people think I have to keep pushing hard to stay on the top of that bell curve. But really, if I push too hard, remember, you're going to go off the edge. So pulling back sometimes will actually keep you on the top of the bell curve. So, and some things that people can also be aware of what that can look and feel like is how do you feel in your body? So that self-awareness of what regulation or being centered in that flow state. The flow state is the top of the bell curve. Anything that starts to feel like overwhelm, anxiety, everything's too much, overstimulated. Now you're going too far. Or then the shutdown. So
that's it.
So teaching that self-regulation, do you use any sort of nervous system regulation techniques with people?
Oh, Dr. Lauren, so my specialty is integrated care. I refer patients to you and say, please go to the subject matter expert, Dr. Lauren. What I do with my patients in practice within my scope of expertise in behavioral very much so aligns with yours to how do we pick up those hot spots? How do we figure out where in our body we're feeling tense? Is it our necks, our arms,
That's
our
the mind-body component to it.
Completely connected. This is why we integrate care, why it works so well. Because ignoring that aspect of life is only going to be at the demise of the individual. So the sooner that it can be tapped into, where are we feeling this in our body? How are we feeling it? Where are those hot spots? Where are we noticing to what's our outputted behaviors? What's our mood like? What's our verbals, our nonverbals?
Are we being short with people? Are we being patient with people? Those are indicators. That's not a personality thing. A lot of people think, oh, it's just my personality to be like real short. And no, that's your fight or flight. And you're not even thinking from your smart, logical brain anymore. Right. And that's another thing I talk to professionals a lot about is, do you want to make decisions out of reactivity or fear or anxiety because you're actually in a sympathetic part of your nervous system? Or do you want to make your decisions for your business or your life from that centered, regulated state? So working with professionals can really help you own where you're at in your system so that you can perform better.
That kind of honest conversation is really what it comes down to. It's just like us sitting here having this conversation. When I have an executive in front of me, it's let's discuss. How well are these behaviors currently getting to you, to where you're trying to be?
Right.
What are your actual goals? What are those objectives and behaviors that need to be aligned for that? And how in tune with your own body are you even to begin with? Which is why with any person served coming in, I ask those questions of, when was the last time you saw your primary care provider? When was the last time you had lab work done? Mm-hmm. Let's rule out some medical etiology to make sure that underlined anything that could be there is there. And then tracking from the time we first start meeting throughout treatment, measurement-based care. What did your depression or anxiety or even substance use look like when we first started meeting throughout care? Mm-hmm. What are triggers? Individuals might not even realize that they have coping strategies that are maladaptive or faulty, thinking that, like you said, oh, that's just a typical, behavior. This is what it looks like. I've worked with certain careers where individuals come in and drinking is just part of what we do. It's all part of everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how is that drinking increased? How is it affecting your life today? And what's going on with your body and your nervous system and your memory, your recall, these things? What does it look like to be able to? So as you pointed out from the very beginning throughout care of, it's important to know yourself and learn yourself, and everything you do with mind and body connection is the integrated component is so essential.
Yeah, I definitely see that people aren't necessarily aware that they have like an uptick in their drinking or their sleep pattern has changed or even their gut health has changed. They're like, now that you're talking about it, I do have issues with this and this. And it only happens when I'm doing too much with no recovery and those little things. And then, so those are great things for them to objectively track because it does show that their entire system has shifted and is also becoming more resilient to what their capacity to stress is. When you said something about lab and biomarkers and stuff, do you ever specifically look at certain biomarkers or?
That's a great question.
Because there are some that you can track that are associated with stress levels and things like that.
Very much so. What I will do is I will ask my patients, I will refer them if they haven't gotten checked out or have a provider that is looking at those, I will then refer them to ensure that everything is checked out. I will look at any underlying predispositions or anything in terms of patients will come in with diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and I will ask for consent to be able to work with their primary care providers and see how their behaviors and their plans are aligned with what medical is currently doing. So the integrated care is beautiful in terms of we all get to stay in our lanes and focus on subject matter expertise while working together as a team at the benefit of our patient. And that's both at my provider level as well as the executive level, what it looks like to operationalize that. When you have patients coming in, I know that that's a key indicator. What does that look like for the mind and body connection?
Right. So, I mean, for what I see with people, I generally see people on the initial healing stages. So people that are dealing with chronic pain, inflammation and illness and inflammatory issues, autoimmune, things like that. So biomarkers are pretty important to me because I want to see how that shifts with how their system shifts and how their symptoms shift, because you should see a correlation with that. Their labs and their symptoms, their medical symptoms will shift as their nervous system becomes more regulated and stays more regulated because that controls their inflammatory process. When you look at the other end of the scale, the performance optimization end of the scale, after we've dealt with healing from ailments and things like that, you should also see a trending change in some of the markers. And another one that's super important that I like and is very easy to track and tells people a lot of information is heart rate variability, the HRV. So as you improve your capacity and how you show up in the world and you maintain a more centered, controlled state over your nervous system and yourself, your HRV trends upwards. And as things show up in life, say you're starting to head towards burnout, say you're at that bell curve, you've revved way too long and you start teetering over the side, your HRV is going to tank with that. So it's it can show you ahead of time, you're going too hard and too fast and too much. You need to take a pause. So that's a great number to look at too.
That's fantastic.
But I love that you you actually and I don't think people realize how much mental health is associated with your physical health, and that connection is a two-way street. And you can actually see changes in lab biomarkers from the therapy side too.
Very much so. And, our patients, the integrated care, we have the beauty of getting to see, the same people as well and getting to see that improvement. Individuals working hard in the right ways. And what does it look like? It's working with your providers and opening the doors. We know very well what it looks like for the mental health, and part of mental health is that physical health and well-being, and working with individuals of all different ages and across the different life cycle spans. And in particular with those high functioning individuals, sometimes it's the sitting on the couch and processing and doing some cognitive behavioral therapy, solution focused, looking at the language, what we're saying to ourselves, the antecedents, the thoughts that we have, the behaviors that correspond with those thoughts, and then the consequences of those behaviors. So what all of that comes together, and then again, how do you add in the behaviors? It's all about the behavioral approach to care. I'm very proud of the individuals who say, I'm starting something new, who haven't done it before. And we know people, again, who have done things to lower their level of arousal, able to focus more, to those that lift weights and go into the community and do things that have never done before. And it really, I think, takes a great network of providers to make the difference.
Yes.
Because when we think about what has been the shift of the conversations we have now to how we practice for a living and all these new buzzwords, where do they come from? They come from innovative providers who say, let's work together and look at science and research and be willing to break the norms, the status quo. Disruption leads to innovation. So by disrupting the old way, very linear medical model that things were, we are affording people the opportunity to enhance their quality of lives, their capacity, their relationships, their well-being, every aspect of it.
And I think that word disruption is so important on an individual level, because it's about when you get to a point in your life where you're like, this isn't working for me anymore. What is the only thing you do to fix that? Break it, break the cycle, disrupt the pattern. But it requires that also in the big scheme of things of how our health system is working.
Oh, yes.
Because we've seen how it's really shifted into not so beneficial for the masses. And it's going to take providers breaking and disrupting the patterns to create the shift for people. But I love your collaborative care, because that concept is matching the people. The people didn't get to where they're at by one individual thing. It was a multitude of things in their life that got them to where they're at, where they feel like this isn't working for me anymore. I don't like this anymore, but I need a change. So taking that approach, I think, is the most beneficial for people. And like you're not going to solve everybody's problem. I'm not going to solve everybody's problem. So doing it together is one of the best approaches that I've seen.
Very much so, in a positive way, and giving respect to individuals. I think that that's where it comes from, the integrity and behind it. If I see where you're at, you're looking for ways to enhance your life. How do we use our skill sets together to help you do that? So the humbleness approach, it's the best way.
So do you have if people are kind of listening to this and watching this and they're thinking to themselves, well, I think I'm doing great, but maybe I could explore that I could be doing better or whatever. Like, what are some things, some self-reflection questions that someone could ask themselves to check in and see, like, maybe what I'm doing isn't serving me to the best, or maybe there are some shifts that I could make that I could optimize a little bit more?
Great questions. You're so good at what you do. Really, I would start with what are your current goals? What are the current goals you're working
and are you aligned
towards?
with those?
And some people have responded with, I don't have any current goals at the moment. So I would highly recommend and encourage a personal goal, a financial goal, a relational goal, a happiness goal. When we have goals, we work towards things in life. And God willing, our lifespan continues to get longer in age, and we're healthier and happy throughout it. So the first would be what are your goals? Do you have them? Set them. Set objectives. What do I need to get towards those goals? And I would really highly recommend putting them in different categories. So if somebody says everything is great in life,
Mm-hmm.
I would challenge you. And I would go through different categories in life. And you had mentioned the app in YourTurn and the idea of the communication building from any stage in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it expands to the individual because really those questions are personal. It's where
Explain your
I?
app a little bit more.
Okay.
Because I do want you to tell us about your app.
I'll tell you all about the app. So YourTurn is, it's a child of love. It's a passion of love. And it is an app available in the app stores. It is trademarked, so enjoy the YourTurn with a little trademark logo when you're looking for it. And it is a couples app to build intimacy and communication and helping the individual themselves really at that individual level identify who they are, what they want in life, where they come from to be then the best version of themselves that knows how to communicate then with their partner. So it's very clinically based. There's a lot of games that are out there to really just draw attention and really a lot of provocative questions that may come out. Really, YourTurn is clinically founded in the way that the questions are being asked, how and what, open-ended, not intentionally to be leading, and the different levels of intimacy, 1, 2, and 3 are progressive in intimacy. There's categories throughout, whether it's financial, personal, relational, that you can choose from, as well as leave all categories open. So that way it gives the individuals playing, whether they're dating at a very beginning stage of your first date, to you're in a relationship, to you've been married for 30, 40 years, and you just don't know how to articulate to your partner where you like to be touched, where you don't like to be touched, how your feelings are, different goals and passions you might have in life. Mm-hmm. So it's really the opportunity afforded to individuals to get to know each other all the way through, get to know themselves and their relationships. And the way that the questions are built, again, give the opportunity to rain check a question that gets prompted in the app to where if a question comes up, regardless of what level it is, if you're not comfortable answering it at that moment, that builds intimacy by saying, you know what, I'd like to rain check this question. We'll come back to it. It's saved and you can. And the game is meant to be played in real time. So responses are not entered anywhere. It is meant to actually have a conversation and build upon that level of communication and intimacy. So by doing so, those same concepts expand to the individual. And so many executives, many of them, I say, you're so fantastic at communicating and everything in life. How is it on the personal level? And that's an area where when you start adding in feelings and you take out just the logic and decision making, for the best of it, it gets difficult to do that. Right. So that's where it all really melds together of, I'm again, blessed and afforded the opportunity to create tools and innovative ways to serve our communities. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to do so.
That makes you an amazing provider because giving access to people who may not be able to work with you one-on-one or have access to you directly, you're still providing something to the community.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's amazing.
I try to do so.
How does someone find you and work with you? And what are all the things that you actually offer? You tend to work with a lot of executives and high performing professionals.
I do. So I offer private practice and concierge. So my concierge practice is really catered to the individual upon need. So pediatrics and families is a passion of mine that I started with and I've continued to grow. Working with executives, absolutely. It is really one of the foundations of the practice and to be able to give back. So I have practice in office as well as telehealth availability. Individuals contact me via text and say, can you get a hold of you today? I would like to provide that concierge style. So the on-demand as available and consulting with United Providers Alliance. So we consult with private practices as well as community organizations and treatment centers to give guidance on all clinical, every aspect from the operations to the fiscal return to the quality and compliance for consulting our firm does. And YourTurn is available in both the Apple and the Android stores for purchase and consulting. So Dr. Sam is available, FamilyPsychCentral.com, and always by number 305-985-3618. And I am here for all those in need.
And you have an Instagram?
do have an Instagram. So Dr. Samantha Morris on Instagram, as well as YourTurn Game on Instagram and Family Psych Central. So as we progress in life, my millennial skill set has also come to social media, y'all. So feel free. We put a lot of videos and fun things on there.
You're pumping it out. I'm so proud of you.
Pumping it out. This is what growth looks like. You know, the Dr. Sam that would have said, you're not going to catch me on social media has 3 different professional pages. So we all stay up to date.
It's about it giving exposure to the people that may not have even known that those services existed.
Very much so. And that is why we all step outside of our comfort zone. So like I said, you and I, we lead by example, and things outside of our comfort zone, such as podcasts and social media is now becoming a thing of the present.
I would have never imagined being in that position at all. But then I told myself, like, listen, if one more person can understand this information or one more person can know that this exists as an option for them to help themselves, and they never knew that. So that's what it's all about, right? Any one major last takeaway, most important thing that you want people to think about, understand, self-reflect with?
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and take a moment to look around, you could miss it. And a sentiment from one of the greatest psychologists and individuals, Viktor Frankl, of really something that individuals that you can truly affect in life, that is yours, is your attitude and your response to any given situation. So I would really say be mindful in our world. It moves very fast, and really try to bring your best self and take what control you can over it, which is your positivity and the outlook you have on those situations. I would leave those with those 2 lasting sentiments.
That's amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming.